Good morning, Network Nation. Welcome out today to our first podcast for 2025, and we're going to tackle one that we think that is very essential in getting everybody on task and on the right page of what we want to do here at Network Nation. Starting out the year of 2025, again, the fight against financial literacy and understanding how to win the game of wealth and growth creation. We got to understand there's certain things that's a real thing going on here. So today we're going to dissect a video that I've watched so many times, and it really does deserve a closer look. The way this gentleman breaks it down is absolutely incredible, and a lot of what a lot of us are out there dealing with as financial experts and growth specialists. And we have a lot of clients that we're really trying to get them back to where they want to be. We understand that we have to tackle what's been going on in the school system at a very, very, very early age. And so our challenges are against that. And so what's going to be uncovered in this video, and we'll talk a little bit about more of it in future videos, is just kind of highlighting some of these unfortunate numbers that we look at when we think about the illiterate crisis that we have in this country. You know, when you say 47% of kindergarten children are can only read at grade level, you really begin to see that the building blocks of information and education are really struggling mightily at a very early age. And this problem in the United States in particular is disturbing when you're talking about one of the most powerful nations on the face of the earth. And when you think about the fact that you have a nation like the United States struggling with these fundamental things as far as reading comprehension and understanding. And so what we're trying to do here this year, obviously we're turning the page on 2024, but there was a lot of value that we took away from that and from last year. And so as we move forward, we really want to begin to take that deep dive into the new year and really begin to see exactly what's really out there, and how we can get to a point where we really, really, really begin to tackle this thing head on. So let's take a little peek behind curtain number one. Look at the core problem at its root, and then we'll talk about it a little bit after this video.
That it is stupid. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today on trial we have modern day schooling. Glad you could come. Not only does he make fish climb trees, but also makes them climb down and do a 10-mile run. Tell me, school, are you proud of the things you've done? Turning millions of people into robots, do you find that fun? Do you realize how many kids relate to that fish swimming upstream in class, never finding their gifts, thinking they are stupid, believing they are useless? Well, the time has come, no more excuses. I call school to the stand and accuse him of killing creativity, individuality, and being intellectually abusive. He's an ancient institution that has outlived his usage. So, Your Honor, this concludes my opening statement, and if I may present the evidence of my case, I will prove it.
Proceed.
Exhibit A. Here's a modern day phone. Recognize it? Here's a phone from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Stay with me. Here's a car from today, and here's a car from 150 years ago. Big difference, right? Well, get this. Here's a classroom of today, and here's a class we used 150 years ago. Now, ain't that a shame? In literally more than a century, nothing has changed. Yet you claim to prepare students for the future? But with evidence like that, I must ask, do you prepare students for the future or the past? I did a background check on you and let the record show that you were made to train people to work in factories, which explains why you put students in straight rows, nice and neat, tell them sit still, raise your hand if you want to speak, give them a short break to eat, and for 8 hours a day, tell them what to think. Oh, and make them compete to get an A. A letter which determines product quality, hence grade A of meat. I get it. Back then, times were different. We all have a past. I myself am no Gandhi. But today, we don't need to make robot zombies. The world has progressed. And now we need people who think creatively, innovatively, critically, independently with the
Crazy powerful, isn't it? So, real quick, as you really look at the introduction, what blows you away is the cell phone, the automobile, right? All those things that we see changed dramatically in the last 100 years. I mean, let's face it, even the cell phones have began changing dramatically from year to year. And so it shows you that classroom from the modern day, and it shows you the classroom from in the early 1900s, right? In the exact same. And so what we're tackling is a little touchy because, again, it gets to the point where sometimes feelings can be hurt when you talk about the education system because you have a lot of people that have poured into the system. And you have a lot of educators that definitely see the problem. And it's almost as if their hands are truly tied. They really can't do the things that they want to do because of the structure, the engine that we call the education system, as far as how it's done on the federal level. And then from the federal level, is handed down to the state level. And so then when you really look at being able to get involved and navigate through that, it's so difficult. One of the things that jumped out the page here, it says, when you think about what's being done, like this gentleman is holding uh, the federal powers that be and the state legislature that powers that be accountable to the education system, then you begin to see why the Net Worth Nation challenge has been so great in our arena. Because a lot of the things that should make absolute sense to our average people and clients that we deal with, it really doesn't make as much sense as it should because of what we're seeing in this particular video when we talk about the way we were educated from very, very early ages. Let's keep.
the ability to connect. See, every scientist will tell you that no two brains are the same, and every parent with two or more children will confirm that claim. So please explain why you treat students like cookie cutter frames or snapback hats, giving them this one-size-fits-all crap.
Watch your language.
Sorry, Your Honor. But if a doctor prescribed the exact same medicine to all of his patients, the results will be tragic. So many people would get sick, yet when it comes to school, this is exactly what happens. This educational malpractice, where one teacher stands in front of 20 kids, each one having different strengths, different needs, different gifts, different dreams, and you teach the same thing the same way? That's horrific. Ladies and gentlemen, the defendant should not be acquitted. This may be one of the worst criminal offenses ever to be committed. And let's mention the way you treat your employees.
Objection. Overruled. I want to hear this.
It's a shame. I mean, teachers have the most important job on the planet, yet they're underpaid? No wonder so many students are short-changed. Let's be honest. Teachers should earn just as much as doctors, because a doctor can do heart surgery and save the life of a kid. But a great teacher can reach the heart of that kid and allow him to truly live. See, teachers are heroes that often get blamed, but they're not the problem. They work in a system without many options or rights. Curriculums are created by policymakers, most of which have never taught a day in their life. Just obsessed with standardized tests. They think bubbling in a multiple choice question will determine success. That's outlandish. In fact, these tests are too crude to be used and should be abandoned, but don't take my word for it. Take Frederick J. Kelly, the man who invented standardized testing, who said, and I quote, "These tests are too crude to be used and should be abandoned." Ladies.
So again, we're looking at this from the lenses that we should be looking from it. If you get where this is going, and you really, really take the time and energy to really see what we're up against. This is why it's such a struggle to get the average American person to really look at their financial lens the right way. They struggle to look through the financial lenses because of the education that's been ingrained in probably most each and every one of us, or the majority of us. Now, there are some schools out there that do operate, as they say, outside of the box, but those are so far few in between that when you think about what this gentleman is saying in this particular video, it jumps off the page. Let's talk about the American education system, some of the problems that we have highlighted here. We're looking at funding. They always are complaining that schools just don't have the resources to push out the programs, that they're supposed to push out. And again, I'm going to say this and go out on a limb. I don't think that's really the problem. I don't think the problem is the resources. I think the problem is the allocation of the resources and the way those resources are being allocated. And so, again, when you're dealing with that, then you're looking at the the shortages of teachers. And he touched on the financial pay scales, and a lot of the educators are just not making the right types of income in order to navigate uh, through these types of issues. We also heard him touch on test scores. They said the United States is lagging behind test scores compared to other countries. So, again, and I don't think the gentleman that he mentioned that actually created these standardized tests did not really approve of the way they had intended to use it. I mean, again, it's almost like it's a divide and conquer strategy, because now you have kids that come out and think because they can't take a test or they can't pass the test that their value and their worth um, is not on par with others. And we all know that that is such a false narrative. Uh, there's a lot of reasons why people struggle with taking tests that has nothing to do with on-job performances, not even to have anything to do with the ability to create, the ability to do a lot of other things that's very capable for them to do. But let's look at it a little bit more and see what we can find here. I think this is outstanding.
And gentlemen of the jury, if we continue down this road, the results will be lethal. I don't have much faith in school, but I do have faith in people. And if we can customize healthcare, cars, and Facebook pages, then it is our duty to do the same for education, to upgrade it, change it, do away with school spirit, because that's useless. Unless we're working to bring the spirit out of each and every student, that should be our task. No more Common Core. Instead, let's reach the core of every heart in every class. Sure, math is important, but no more than art or dance. Let's give every gift an equal chance. I know this sounds like a dream, but countries like Finland are doing impressive things. They have shorter school days, teachers make a decent wage, homework is non-existent, and they focus on collaboration instead of competition. But here's the kicker, boys and girls. Their educational system outperforms every other country in the world. Other places like Singapore are succeeding rapidly. Schools like Montessori, programs like Khan Academy, there is no single solution. But let's get moving, because while students may be 20% of our population, they are 100% of our future. So let's attend to their dreams.
Powerful point. 100% of our future. I like how he touched on a lot of those different programs, but I do want to say this. We can't keep saying that it's a financial problem. And in a lot of cases, we can't keep saying that it's a problem that's elusive to us. We have to understand that if we are not satisfied with the way our kids are being taught, and how do we know that? We only have to look as far as ourselves, right? How many of us, myself included, clients I've talked to that say, oh my God, if I had have known this years ago, if I had have known this when I first came out of high school, if I had have known this when I first got out of college. Did you ever realize that you're talking about a time period when you've just come out of school, when you've just come out of college? Doesn't it resonate that, yes, you should have known this? Yes, you're right. You should have known it. And so now you have to see, I got to choose my words carefully, almost like an intentional scenario here. Like, why aren't you not seeing this when you first come out of school? It's because it was never intended for you to see it. You see, when he touched on the way the system groomed people for factory, groomed people for a certain type of workforce, you see, and we used to talk about this a lot. when we thought about the future, we would say everybody can't walk around with a clipboard and a Starbucks coffee and a manager's hat, right? Uh, we need people that's going to do the work. And so a lot of that, I believe, is a thought process, the thought engine behind the education system. Make the masses be the laborers, right? And the few be the ones, the few be the ones that have the creative thinking. And this is why it dawned on me when I started looking at people like Jobs and all these people that quit and walked off their college campuses and went into their garages, and came up with all these brilliant creative things. It began to make me realize that they too saw the education system's trap and avoided some of those things at all costs. And I think what this video speaks to is how you do that in the best way possible. And that's almost like you have to walk away and unlearn everything that you learned. And this is what a lot of my clients struggle with, because some of these are very practical approaches when you talk about how to build wealth. And so it has to be something ingrained in you at a very relatively early age. I believe so.
And there's no telling what we can achieve. This is a world in which I believe, a world where fish are no longer forced to climb trees. I rest my case.
And so there we go. That's what we have today. I really wanted to make sure that we hammered home a really good point here in that, it all starts with us. We, the people, have to get to a point where we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so, as I close out the introduction of my first video for the year, I want to leave something on everyone's mind, right? If we're not satisfied with the results that we're getting, then we have to start to execute on the agent of change, right, in order to get the results that we want. And we're not talking about this violent stuff, right? We're talking about certain things where keeping your votes in your pocket, keeping your pens in your pocket, keeping your resources in your pocket. Don't put in income behind or watch hours behind or anything behind any organizations that are not living up to the things that you want them to do. I'm going to say that one more time. Keep your pens in your pockets, keep your cash in your pockets, and keep your attention span on the things that are going to elevate and highlight the places and spaces where you want to be, where you want to grow, and where you want to go. Ron G, aka Your Console, the Network Nation. We'll talk soon, guys. See you till next time.